and welcome to episode number 1 of the 7 days of Panto. Last year I did the videos about pantomime, and lots of people asked if I was going to do it again. So yeah, I am. But I thought I'd actually start today with me getting from where I live in Lowestoft on the east coast, actually the most easterly town, across to Belfast in Northern Ireland. And the way I do it is I drive. So I started out this morning, the van's packed full to the brim. I've got everything I need to survive for pantomime. So that's like loudspeakers, I've got video cameras, tripods, loads of gear. I've even got computers and printers and all the things you need to actually sort of make a show happen. So realistically, it's an office on wheels. I've also got a spare keyboard. The MD is doing like me, so the musical director is also deciding to drive because he's got loads of gear to bring too. So he's driving over, and I've got a spare keyboard so he can actually be based in 2 rooms in the theatre. So he can play with the people that are working in one room, and then he can run next door and he can do some more stuff there. And once the show started, he'll put his keyboards in the orchestra pit and probably keep my one that I'm bringing and put it in his dressing room if he needs to do any tweaking and alterations to things. So we have to actually sort of take pretty much everything. Now that's a choice actually, because if you say to the production company, which is Crossroads in this case, I need this and I need that, and they do their best to actually get it. I mean, they even said, do you want us to send a printer? Well, the problem nowadays, of course, is that, it's not just printing, is it? So people want scans of things. People want faxes sent. Well, that's pretty rare now, isn't it? But all sorts of weird things. And usually during pantomime, we get someone who says, Paul, I'm in the middle of moving house. Is it okay if I get the documents sent to you and we can sign them and you can scan them and send them back? And yeah, we do all that sort of stuff as well. So because we're based in Northern Ireland, it means that there's no easy way to get home, and most of us are totally marooned for the period in which we're here. So it's now November, and we leave Belfast the middle of January. So we're here all the time. Get a day off in the week, but there's not enough time to go home. Most of the cast, of course, are very sensible, and they come on an aeroplane. But of course, that's a limitation in how much stuff you can bring, isn't it? So there's no way you can bring anything remotely heavy. So I choose to drive. And the journey I take takes me from Lowestoft right across to Birkenhead on the Mersey, and then the overnight ferry. I always go on the overnight ferry because I've got a bit of a system. And the system that I do is that I get to the ferry port here at Birkenhead by about, well, it's 4 o'clock now, so on 4 o'clock. Now the sailing is not until 10:30 tonight. They tend to sort of load you on earlier if they can. I mean, a lot of it depends on what time the boat gets in on its current journey. But realistically, once the actual boat's serviced and things, you can get on. Now my trick over the years is you get on the ferry as quick as you can, so I'm here early enough that I'm going to be one of the first people on the boat. Now that means that I can get into the cabin, chuck my stuff down, go straight to the restaurant and eat, and then I can be in my cabin and asleep by the time the boat leaves. And the reason for that is because it trundles over to Belfast overnight, and it gets in around about 5:30 in the morning. You're generally off the boat by 6:15, and you sort of get ejected. They actually wake you up with a very nasty loud announcement about 5 a.m. in the morning, which is wonderful. So if you've had a late night and you go to bed, you might only manage a few hours sleep before you're up again. It doesn't look like it's going to be particularly rough, but I don't mind that. So rough or smooth, doesn't matter too much. The Stena boats now are a bit newer. They changed a couple of years ago and now they're a bit nicer. I have to say a bit nicer because basically it's pretty ropey. I've been doing this now for 17 years, coming across on the ferry. It has improved. It was like prison food originally, but they really just don't have the knack of looking after passengers. So there's a really sort of, quite a nice looking Stena Line place. Toilets are locked, so you can't have a wee. There are 3 vending machines, so you've got hot drinks, cold drinks and sweets. So I can get in there, it is open, and I can actually manage to get a drink. I can't have a wee though, because the toilets are locked. That's quite normal. They don't staff it till about 6:30. And even when they staff it, it's, the vending machines are okay, but they're not exactly nice. Once you get through the sort of security side, which is a bit odd, if you're in a van, when you book the ticket, if the van is full of your own gear, like this one, well, there's no worries with the paperwork and things. If you had anything that was like you were going to sell while you're over there, then you're stuck, because you can't go as a sort of member of the public type journey. You have to go as a freight, which is only about 100 yards that way, but the paperwork is horrendous. And so if you had anything at all that you're not going to bring back, that's really bad news. But if you're actually like me, just taking your own gear across and you're coming back with your own gear, that's okay. It's a bit strange because they know your number in advance, so that's all quite. You don't need tickets and things. You turn up, they scan your number plate, they know who you are. They give you your room key and you'll sort of get through the gates ticket. You do about 10 feet and then they stop you, and the security people ask for this thing that you've just been given. And with my van, they will ask me, what am I going for? I'll tell them I'm going for a pantomime, and then they'll ask to look in the back. It's piled full of junk. I mean, it's got like the stuff for the pantomime. It's also got my own personal things. So, there's a box with things like trainers and stuff like that in it. But they're all in the back of the van. Not once has anybody ever asked to go through anything and look what's inside all the boxes. The usual question is, have you got any fuel? And last year when I went, it was, have you got any dogs? Apparently there's some sort of trade in smuggling dogs, which seems a bit odd, but that's what they do. Once you've told them what's what, they just say, yeah, okay, shut the doors, and then you go through the gates and you queue up again. And on the other side is another sort of cafe style thing, and sometimes you'll find there's a member of staff and the shutters are up and you can have a decent cup of coffee, but if not, there'll be the vending machines again. They don't take money, they're only credit card machines now, so you need to wave a card at them, which is okay really, isn't it? Then you get on board the boat. As soon as you get on the boat with a van like this, or a private car, normally I don't know what the technical term for upstairs is, but that's what happens. You have to go up a really steep ramp, then they park you on this top deck, and you can then go straight into the boat. If you don't know how to disable your alarm, you better find out before you travel, because they always ask you that. In actual fact, I have had a really dodgy night once in a rough sea. It wasn't the sea that annoyed me and kept me awake. It was people's car alarms going off a deck underneath where my cabin was all night long. So the rule is supposed to be that you disable your vehicle alarm. And so if you don't know how to do that, you have to look it up. Get on board the boat. Use your stuff on the boat. I'll show you a bit later on. But realistically, the cabins are not bad now. There are still people who try and save a few quid and they sleep on the seats or the floor or a combination of the seats and the floor, or even the tables. So you do tend to find that plenty of places to drink, eat. The restaurant is, it's a bit like a posh upmarket greasy spoon. The food is, I mean, if you had fish and chips, it's great. If you have some of the posh stuff they do, it's got lovely titles, but very often it's inedible. The worst thing, I'm a curry lover. If you see a curry on the menu on board one of these boats, don't have it. It'll be horrible. I've tried loads of times with the curry. Lots of the food is just, it's prison food, really, dressed up, which is a bit sad. I mean, if I get on tonight and the food is wonderful, I'll tell you. But in all the years I've been coming, the food has been pretty horrible. And usually I end up leaving half of it. You know, you might get a naan bread with the curry that you could sort of, if you hit the plate with it, the plate would break. I don't know what they do with it, but it certainly isn't looking after it. Some of the staff are helpful. Some of the staff are less helpful. I mean, some are lovely, but it's a bit random. You've got all the normal stuff. There's like the duty-free type things that, you know, are twice the price of normal smellies and things like that. You can buy sweets and stuff. Bars, cafes. There's nothing to do on these boats. And the worst thing is when it's full of football supporters. And a couple of times I've got that wrong and shared the boat with loads and loads of football supporters. And that's absolutely horrible, because they're just sort of, well, they drink from the moment they get on the boat until when they get off the boat. And so that's very lively. But I'm now sitting here, and I've probably got a couple of hours to sit here in the car park. The car park is a pay and display car park, but if you are travelling with your vehicle, the stickers say you are exempt. I've never had a ticket, but I think it's £8 a day or something like that to park here. And I'm going to be here for a couple of hours waiting for the entrances to open. So at the moment, weather's okay. I don't think the crossing is going to be a problem. It looks reasonably well. So that's how I'm doing it. Tomorrow morning, when they chuck me off the ferry, I'm going to go straight into Belfast. I'll have to hang about a bit again, and then I'll get all my gear into the theatre on the Saturday morning. There is another show on that day, but I've got a little hidey hole that they'll let me put all the gear in, ready for Monday morning. And Sunday, I've got off. So there we go. Talk to you soon. Have a nice one. See you in a bit. Well, I'm still sitting here in the dark now, waiting to board. The ferry that's coming from Belfast hasn't turned up yet, so I'm waiting for that to dock. So I'm still sitting in the car park. And just to keep me out of trouble, I'm proofreading the programme for the pantomime. So trying to go through every single member of cast and make sure that everything they've said makes sense, and make sure that we've spelt their names right. And I've even looked at one, and I've now got a name in a box that previously was empty, so I now have a full complement of people, and I even know who most of them are. So anyway, ship's calling. Hopefully they'll be letting me on very shortly. See you in a bit. Well, I've just gone through security, and it was a bit more stringent than it usually is. I mean, normally it's a quick glimpse in the back and away you go. But this time, they actually looked in the back, pulled a few things about and asked what they were. And then he came round into the cab here, and he's gone through my side pockets in the doors, both sides. He's gone through my glove box. So I'm not quite sure what that was for. I mean, in the back, there's all big flight cases that I could have put all sorts of weird and wonderful things in. But, you know, but the security level has clearly gone up a little bit, which is never a bad thing. The other thing is he's offered me either late on, early off, or early on, late off, which I've not had actually before. So I've elected to hang about a little bit and be last loaded, and then first off in the morning. So I'll be nearest to the doors on the ship, which is probably good if it does a Titanic, isn't it, and sinks, so I can get off a bit quicker. I've also been doing lots of things, like I finished checking the programme, found just one spelling mistake, so that's pretty good. So I've got that sorted. And in the meantime, 2 of the cast have been stopped going through the Border Force Department because they hadn't got the right paperwork, and we've been like running around like mad trying to find documents that they should have had that they didn't actually have, and presumably in the past nobody had ever noticed. But one of these Brexit things, I'm afraid. But if you come in from a foreign country to work in the United Kingdom, then you've got to have paperwork that you didn't used to have. And somehow it slipped through the cracks, and we've had to sort of have a bit of a panic to get it done. But that's another thing. That's one of the other things that I'm involved with. And it seems to me that whatever anybody has as a problem, they just pick the phone up and ask me what to do. And luckily, I've managed to sort most things out, so I'm doing okay. Anyway, I shall be on the boat shortly, and then maybe I'll be able to do a bit more video on the boat tonight, and we'll see how we go. Take care, see you in a bit. Right, well, I'm in the cabin, and everything's all right in here. The cabins are nice, actually, so the beds are comfy, so I don't mind that. I'm going to go down for food shortly, but that is probably not going to be as nice. It never is. Sadly, it's just not one of the things Stena Line do very well. The captain's just been on, did the announcement, you know, about hitting icebergs and stuff like that. But he also apologised for the late departure, but told us that it won't affect our arrival time in the morning. So presumably they'll just turn the notch up a little bit and go a bit quicker. We'll be in about 6:30 into Belfast docks in the morning, so an early start. Anyway, let's go and have some food. It's a bit like a ghost ship. There's just nobody on it. I mean, we're due to sail in about 5 minutes. The restaurant's pretty empty. None of these seats in here are in use. And so I've parked on the lorry deck and there was just no lorries. Well, here we go. So we've got soup of the day, which he had to go and ask what it was, which turned out to be leek and potato, and a roll. And that is supposed to be chicken tikka masala. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. Well, I'm back in the cabin. Hopefully I'll get a decent night's sleep. But the restaurant was exactly as I expected, horrible. There wasn't anybody about, oddly. It was very sparsely sort of populated. The prices are disgusting for the sort of quality of the food, I have to be honest. You could have beef stroganoff. It's 17 quid for beef stroganoff. It's 6 quid for soup. I had chicken tikka, which was 14 quid, and I left it. It just tasted of turmeric, nothing else. So it wasn't hot, wasn't particularly spicy, certainly wasn't tasty. It left a really horrible taste in your mouth, like too much turmeric always does. The soup wasn't bad. I wish I'd just had the soup for 6 quid, but I spent £22 on the meal. The promised naan bread, which they were just cooking, so it'd be lovely and fresh, never turned up. As I mentioned at the way out, he went in a Liverpool accent, which I won't insult Liverpool people by even attempting to do. He said, "Yeah, sorry," he said, "we were cooking some more and probably forgot you." Yeah, okay, well at least he was honest. But it was pretty horrid. So anyway, tomorrow I'm off to the theatre, dump all the gear at the theatre, and then back to where I'm living. So the good news is that the members of the cast who got stuck in border control made it to Belfast, which is really lovely. So it looks like we're going to be complete. Anyway, more in the morning. Good night.